Hello and welcome to Where the Living Room Used to Be, a podcast about Rhode Island's music scene. Hey everyone, it's James. On this mini episode, Bill Bartholomew and I get into the duality of needing to be self-sufficient as an artist, but also the importance of being part of a scene and showing support and showing up for others. We also talk about the thing that really motivates and inspires him. If you like the episode, please leave a rating or review wherever you're listening right now, as that truly helps a lot and would be really appreciated. Thanks so much. Bill Bartholomew, as a musician that's been at this for a long time, you've played in multiple bands and kind of just had this, varied career as well with the different people that you've worked with. Is there a piece of advice that a bandmate or, someone that you worked with on the production side or anything like that they've shared with you that you would like to pass along?
Yeah. 2009, I'm on my way back from Brooklyn to Rhode Island for Christmas. And I'm on the New Haven train, as I was a million times, the Metro North. And I just solidified my relationship with a new band of great players, John Phipps on bass, Keith Robinson on drums, and Dave Clem on guitar. We were getting really excited. Everything was going in the right direction. And I had called, or actually Dave Clem had called me and on this train ride. And he was like, we've got everything in place. The songs are there. Things are looking good. But I have a piece of advice for you that you need to remember. Nobody is going to save you.
Okay.
You are in full control of your career, of the music you make, and whatever success. Don't count on any agents, managers, other musicians, record producers, girlfriends, venue bookers, writers, whatever. It's all in your hands, and you have to look at it through that lens. And I'd already had a DIY sort of vibe, but that really changed my life to understanding how important the do-it-yourself approach to art really was.
Yeah. I guess what that comes to mind, like how much have you done this on your own? Like how much have you taught yourself music and, even just with what you're doing now with podcasting? I mean, for me, I went in my parents' basement and banged on drums because I listened to a ton of Nirvana and that stuff was accessible, and I just watched YouTube videos and it's like, oh, maybe I can do a podcast or whatever. Like, how do you, book tours or whatever else? It was all, I'm fortunate that I've been able to do some records with some labels, but even with that, I was still the dude sending the posters out to the venues and stuff, So, how much of that was true for you? Like, have you taken a lot of music lessons? How have you learned what you've learned to this point?
Well, I took some drum lessons, and I played in the school band and all that. So I definitely had a foundation for thinking about music in an unselfish way. That was, but I never was good at all right, give me a quadruple paradiddle, go. I never practiced that stuff. I just would do the same thing. I'd turn on BRU and play. Self-taught on guitar, self-taught on vocals, broadcasting, I have no training whatsoever formally, but I've listened to, for broadcasting, for example, I've listened to probably 10,000 hours of talk radio in my life. And sometimes would just sit there in my van in Brooklyn and listen to WFAM, the sports station there. And broadcaster Mike Francesa in particular. And okay, how's he getting through this segment? How did he go to the break? Oh, that's interesting. He does that every time.
Like breaking that down. Yeah.
Breaking it down. Same with music. Okay, Wilco, which was a huge influence for me. What's happening here? And then, of course, the more than anything, just being a sponge. Being in Brooklyn, seeing other bands book tours. Oh, okay, that's how you do it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. You mail the posters out. Okay, got it. No one's paying you. Okay, but how do you? Oh, okay, so you need to find somewhere to crash. Got it. So you better trade a show with those people so that they have a place to crash in Brooklyn and build these bridges.
Yeah.
It really has been DIY for me mostly. I've had managers at the very beginning of my solo career. Both were dismissed as soon as the contracts ended by me. They, one had a clause where I had to wear certain sneakers and my hair had to be a certain length. The other one crashed his Mini Cooper into a venue one time. It was just like, and that guy still has BillBartholomew.com. He bought that, and then so I won't ever have that probably because of that clown. But so it's DIY. I dreamed for Silverteeth. I think we would have been very solid for a Jaguar type label. Mm-hmm. But even so, I know that we would have still been the Hustlers, and that's, I like that. I don't want to give that up either. I like putting like this show on June 18th. I like delivering the poster to White Electric and being like, "Hi, may I please put a poster up on the bulletin board?" Okay, I like that process. It's probably not efficient, but it's part of it. It's just like hitting the first note of the show.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I love that you bring that up because I still design and print posters for shows, knowing that it's a different thing. I spent a lot of time on Thayer Street when In Your Ear and Tom's and all these other places were there. And I was like, we just need to add our poster to the pillow of posters that are already on every pole here. And it's just what needed to be done, and go to Coffee Exchange. And so even though it might not be as that have the same effect as like, well, I just need to boost my Facebook event, or I need to, send a couple of texts to people. It's just part of it. And it's part of, for me, it's part of that creative process. And it's part of like, even just kind of showing the venue the respect that they deserve for booking my band, that I'm going to just put in a little bit of the footwork, and I'm going to promote the show the best that I can. And, and not just kind of showing up. So I love that you're doing it. I was down at dusk for the Steady State show that happened a couple weeks ago, and saw your posters up on the window there, and it matters to people like me to see that,
Yeah. And
with that, there wasn't a lot of other posters there. There was the ones for Pete Fest for the show I was going to with Steady State, and there were yours. So there's just, things are different. I'm not saying that it's, better or worse, but it's just something that, there's people that are going to shows there right now that are now seeing your, I guess it's green and red face,
That's right. Yeah. Mark
staring
Michelson.
Staring at them saying like, hey, there's a show happening, so.
Yeah. And it's also, it's narrow casting as well. So it's broadcasting everybody, the show's happening. You might care about it. It may matter to you, but more than anything, it's almost like a secret code. Mm-hmm. The people, who are they? Do they have to wear Doc Martens? Do they have to wear skinny jeans? Do they have to listen? Do they have to acknowledge that certain music's cool? And maybe not. But there's a secret society of people that you grew up, you went to Thayer Street, you saw the Fabulous Itchies. Who are they? What is this? I better know who they are, because their poster's there. And stickering, postering, communicate to that secret society and keep it alive. And it's a code and it's not gatekeeping. Everyone's welcome. It's there for you to see.
Of course, yeah.
But it really matters to the people who really understand what that thing means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think that kind of brings me into, as a musician yourself and what we've been talking about here, with the incredible amount of experience and, hundreds of hours of work that you put in across broadcasting and, designing or having things designed and putting in all that footwork. What have you learned from that experience that you would like to, impart to some other people and share with them?
Hard work pays off. Mm-hmm. You put in the work, you see a return. You hope for the best. Usually you don't see a return. You want to have name recognition or credibility in a certain circle. Be there. Be at the shows. Go to the shows of your contemporaries. Mm-hmm. I've also learned to not live in a bubble. In Brooklyn, I lived in a very significant bubble of the bands I was around and the people I was around, and I missed some opportunities. There were bands that came out of my bubble that became extremely successful, world famous bands that many people would know, or artists that many people would know. In my little world. Same thing, same time, there was also next door, we occasionally overlap, but bands like Beach Fossils and Dive and Heavenly Beat and this whole other side of Sky Ferreira and this whole other side of music was happening at the same time, either because of intimidation or overconfidence or just idiocy. I never really engaged with anyone else. So I think it's important to constantly expand your bubble, but at the same time, know your bubble and build within it. It's like this kind of sidestepping, tap dancing way of being authentic, but just constantly curious. That, be okay with being both in an environment where you've got people who know what you're doing, they understand you, and you can use them as a very organic mirror, but then also where you're standing in the corner, you don't know anybody, and you feel like a loser for the first couple.
Yeah. I think, it's important to just always keep broadening your view, even just to see what else is out there, or just, I don't know. I mean, it goes a long way of just showing support and showing respect. And, like I've seen Brian Chippendale show up at shows from lightning bolts, he's rated as literally one of the best drummers in the world, and he's still just wanting to explore, and it's just inspirational what he does, and just in that one instance, but it matters. And I even recently just interviewed Sage Francis for a PBS piece, and he talked about the opposite effect of how when he was trying to figure out what to do with hip hop in Rhode Island in the early 2000s, like how do you make this happen? Yeah, he started to hear about Lightning Bolt, and he was like, I think he was like, the first time I went to those shows, it's like, this is just a bunch of people on acid, like hanging out. And then he realized, they have the DIY movement. Oh, wow, this is interesting. I can just burn CDs and send them out and upload my stuff to Napster, and great. Let's do it today. Like, we don't need to wait for anybody. So there's in Providence is one of the biggest hotspots for this, especially that period. Andrew WK, so many bands. I mean, we could go on and on about it, but like the DIY approach to stuff, Fort Thunder, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, do it yourself, make it happen, no excuses. Yeah. And you have no one to blame but yourself too. If you, and that can be a lot to burden, especially today where everyone does try to be, is like mental health is so important. And I am the first to admit that. I work with a therapist. I do what I can do. I play golf now all the time to try to like chill out. But at the same time, there's also nothing wrong with having the expectation that you're going to do whatever it takes to conquer the world. And that's like what a Brian Chippendale has, I think. Yeah, at least it seems like it. Yeah. And I mean, I guess with just, I identify with you as well. And it seems that it's even a little bit more heightened now because there's so many statistics that are there that are available to everyone else to know as well. Nobody from show to show knew that I only sold like 2 CDs the night before, or whatever. And I'm happy that I sold those 2 CDs because I needed it to get to the next place, but no one kind of knew that. They were just like, oh, well, James is on tour or whatever. And I've also quote unquote played shows in Louisville where no one showed up. So we just didn't even play, Oh yeah, I've had that happen too. Yeah, it's like, all right, guys, just go home. Here's the drink. Yeah, exactly. But that didn't, no one knew about that until we're talking about it right now, basically, or the other people. But things are so much on metrics, and people are discovering bands by how many monthly listeners you have and how many likes you got on a post, and it's really just heightened a lot of that stuff where I need to keep myself in check, and I think a lot of it is just being rooted in the real reason why I'm doing this. The real reason I'm playing music is for that community of playing with people that I love and respect, and but it's just I feel for people that are kind of coming up behind me that's the world that they're living in, and they're just trying to get more plays, and that's how you get signed now. I got signed because we worked hard and we toured. You get signed because you have enough monthly listeners and you're kind of getting enough buzz, and so it's great, because they're not going through the world that you and I had to go through, but it's just can be for a challenge for someone like me that does have some mental health issues and has to keep that stuff in check, because it's just there's no way around it. So
yeah, and I worry about people not sleeping on the floor of someone's house in Buffalo, or getting to Louisville and having no one show up, and also getting to Charleston, South Carolina, and having this amazing opening slot for some band of college bros that are about to graduate, and all their friends are there, and they fall in love with you guys because you're from the Northeast on tour. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, I fear for people not having that, because that shapes you as a person and as an artist. It also brings bands back to that band conversation. It brings bands closer together. Yeah. The moments of the ups and downs and managing them and setting realistic expectations. You're right though. Pre-social media, it was a lot easier to be like, here's my tour poster. We're going out. My first big tour was from Boston to Austin, and our first show was in Boston, and then we had a day off, but then we had to be in Austin 2 days later, like a ridiculous drive. And we're just driving straight. Everyone taking naps and rotating. And that moment alone is so important to me. But would that even happen today? Because you could just go and boost an Instagram post instead. Yeah. How much money did it cost to go from Boston to Austin with a trailer, a bunch of guys in an old van? Yeah. Well, if you just boosted that on Instagram or Spotify ads, and now all of a sudden, geez. Yeah.
Targeted to that zip code and, the certain neighborhood of Austin, Texas that you're trying to get to. Yeah. I mean, so it's good and bad. But it's just something to kind of, keep in check. I'm glad that you're doing it. If you ever want to go golfing, let's go golfing.
Oh, I'd love to. I'm obsessed with golfing now. I played it as a kid. I had part of that whole growing up in the woods with nothing to do. I had a 9-hole wiffle golf course that I would play against myself in tournament format. I had a leaderboard. I'd wear knickers and go out in the woods. And just play this 9-hole golf course. When my parents sold that house a few years ago, I still haven't gotten over it. I love the house and I miss having my family in Rhode Island. That's true. More than anything, losing that golf course. I will buy that place back someday only for the golf course.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool. And last question for this segment, I just, I feel like we've kind of touched upon some of these things, but what would you say inspires you as an artist, as a creator, and it can be, with your music, with what you're doing in media and broadcasting, or, it can just be just generally in life, what you're feeling with regards to your place and all that stuff. But, what inspires you?
Great performers. Great. A radio show, a band, a wrestler, professional wrestler can bring me to tears. Thinking about or talking about a great. Now I'm really into wrestling all of a sudden again. I missed 20 years of wrestling, and then I picked it back up last few months even. Yeah. And just this is nuts, with these guys to live this character and be paid most cases so little. You're riding from town to town in a van to entertain people and perform for people and what they put their bodies through. And so a great performer of any type. It can be a politician. I've seen speeches by people here in Rhode Island that are so impassioned, and it's a performance. Talk radio hosts. I love talk radio. It's my favorite thing, in a lot of ways. And it's stream of consciousness, performing, theater of the mind. And I think there's just such a tremendous overlap between all of that and music, especially songwriting. But great performers of any stripe. That's what gets me. That's what gets me going no matter what. Yeah.
Is there a certain musician, just out of my own curiosity, a certain musician that has kind of caught you off guard, that, you weren't familiar with at a show and you just saw them, you're like, holy shit, who is this? And, just blew you away in that?
Yeah, oddly enough, it's oftentimes bands that exist outside of my genre preferences or stylistic preferences. I once saw Zox at Lupo's. Zox, the great Rhode Island, I don't know what they were, like college rock, indie, something band. They were cool thing, big moment here, but high energy.
Yeah.
And I went to see them at Lupo's, and they had this band open up for them called Virginia Coalition. And at the time it was two guys, one played a telly, one played a strat, drummer, keyboards, bass. Every position had an additional percussion setup on the rig.
Oh, wow.
Whether it's tempo blocks, bongos, congas, djembes, I think even electronic drums to some extent. Drummer had a keyboard as well. He could play with his left hand. No idea who these guys were. They were the opening act. I bet they did a show swap there from DC with Zox. You guys open up for us, blah, 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 the whole thing. And I have never I don't think I've ever run to a merch table as fast as I ran to buy that record. That show changed my life. That show literally changed the way I saw the world. And the music has a little bit of like a college flair to it. It's like the songwriting, but there is also some beautiful songwriting and just the energy of taking a room of strangers, of 500 or 1,000 strangers, whatever it was, and getting that kind of buy-in and the transitions, the percussion breakdowns, and just the pure energy blew my mind, changed my life. And that always jumps out to me when I think about when I was caught off guard. Maybe wasn't even going to go until Zox played, or something like that. I was like, I felt like, I have to go see Zox or else I don't have like my credibility for the
Scene points, so
yeah, exactly right. Scene points, all right. Yeah. But and this is a band that if I heard them today, and if you heard them only on record, you probably be like, that's good songwriting, but it's nothing special. But seeing them live at their peak on tour, starting to happen for them, and I'll never forget that energy. I've never felt that before or since. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Bill. I appreciate you sharing all of this information. And even just that story. That was really cool, man. I love all that stuff. And I just really appreciate it, Bill. Thank you.
Oh, total pleasure.
As you heard in the full episode, Bill's musical journey has taken him from southern Rhode Island to Brooklyn and then back to the Ocean State, where he called Newport home for a little while. So I wanted to share a song with you that he did with Silverteeth back in 2016, just as they were moving back. That was part of the Newport Live Sessions that Newport Art House put together. The song is Camden, and I hope you enjoy.
Thanks a lot, Newport. We love you. Thanks for letting us move up here and escaping the big city. Thanks for letting us move up here. Not shutting us down. Hell yeah. Super glad we did.